Welcome everybody. My name is Aleksandra Borucka, and on behalf of BCC I'd like to thank you for joining our online session. Today we will take a closer look at BCC pricing for profit. Our speaker today is Maciej Olechno. I see that there are people among us who do not know our company yet. Let me briefly describe what we do at BCC. BCC's offering covers three areas. The first one, services. We range of services needed to implement, maintain, and your SAP systems. BCC data centers make up the second area. We provide comprehensive IT infrastructure maintenance, including outsourcing in our data centers and IT consulting. The third part of our offering is the BCC Software Factory. We create custom business software in any technology. Since May this year, we have the S&P Group, global leader in SAP environment transformation projects. In the area of SAP services, I would like to draw your attention to BCC SAP add-ons. We offer over 40 proprietary extensions of SAP standard. They are unique products designed to increase the effectiveness of SAP systems usage at a low cost. In sales and distribution, I would like to point three of them that are most popular among our customers. This is BCC Credit Controller. It is a reporting tool for controlling the payer's credit data in SAP. BCC EasyPOS, solution for SAP integration with fiscal printers. And BCC Positano. The main objective of this solution is to improve the operation of point of sale. If you are interested in these products, just let us know. We will send you more detailed information. That would be all from me. I will now give the floor to Maciej.
Hi, this is Maciej Olechno speaking. I'll talk about BCC pricing for profit product, describe its functionalities, and describe how SAP users handle pricing at the moment. So what are the basic problems with pricing in SAP? In SAP we have non-transparent editing and price presentation. We don't have a transaction price simulation. We are not able to track changes in transaction price over time, only on a selected date. There is no tool for multi-level approval of price changes. No workflow support, no tool for mass price changes, including transaction price. And there are no pricing conditions and transaction price extractors, and including changes over time in these conditions. So how SAP users handle it at the moment? So currently, users who use standard SAP solutions know how time-consuming and non-transparent changing a price is. Any kind of preview or price change operation we have to do within a single price condition, within a single key, and within a predefined one date. And as I showed in the above diagram, in order to change the price, we have to choose a particular single type of condition, the right combination of keys, and date after date, material after material, we need to browse through singular conditions. While a single price change is still acceptable, for those of you who have an active pricing policy, both in terms of price review and price changes for the larger volume of data, so-called mass price changes, and various dates, they know that the work is cumbersome, non-transparent, and far from ideal. So if we want now in SAP Standard to collectively simulate the price, basically the most effective and most widely used approach by customers and pricing extractors is a tool which either in an explicit way or in the background creates a sales order where we add material numbers, and at the position level of a given material we can verify what pricing conditions were calculated for given material numbers. But as already mentioned, this simulation enables us to check the pricing conditions and prices only for the selected date. no price over time. So we can neither preview other dates in the subscreen nor in the item details, even if we set different price determination date, whether the transaction price and pricing conditions will change or not. We also don't have the possibility to directly export to a file. And it should be emphasized that this is just a simulation and price changes should be done manually. So why choose us in our tool? Firstly, a team of experienced professionals who managed a number of projects in the field of pricing for many customers, implementing in different technologies, including the use of previously presented simulation techniques of pricing procedures through fictional sales order. And basing on these experiences, we know that such solutions are inefficient, and as a result, they do not meet customers' expectations. Because the extraction of pricing conditions and calculation of transaction prices takes too long. It takes 1 or more days in order to extract basic price lists, which does not meet the business requirements for most customers. Exactly for this reason, we have developed an original algorithm for searching and converting tables from the pricing conditions, and by basing on this algorithm, we've built solutions for customers. We have implemented such a solution. We conducted performance tests, which confirm that this algorithm can process even a very large amount of prices. And we are talking about hundreds of thousands of pricing positions. We do not offer a box solution, but our algorithm, which is the calculation engine, and we adjust it to a specific customer for his specific pricing procedure and his needs in terms of what files, what pricing conditions, how they are to be extracted. We extended the product to support the SAP workflow and extended price approval policy in accordance with two-man rule. So let's have a look at the structure of the tool. So in the above diagram, we would like to present how the BCC pricing for profit family currently looks like. So it consists of price extractor in red color, is a module of comprehensive price review, pricing conditions, and transaction price simulation. And price analyzer, blue color, is a module for mass price changes. Moreover, the price extractor module consists of the two submodules, and this is pricing condition extractor and transaction price extractor. And price analyzer consists of pricing condition manager and transaction price manager, which is currently underway. So let's delve into more detailed descriptions, the uses of each module and the BCC pricing for profit. So when it comes to price extractor applications, there are two modules. Pricing condition extractor sells for widely understood pricing conditions, customer prices, and discounts review. The main use is to review a wide range of conditions for the data set on the selection screen, such as the range of materials, advanced scenarios where the user can prepare previously collected sets of analyzed data. On the other hand, in the case of an extractor of the transaction price, the basic use is to simulate the transaction price for changes in component conditions over time. So you can build your own analysis scenarios based on a friendly and transparent configuration interface so that only the data that you expect at the time can be simulated. And price extractor's common feature is an export to Excel on many levels of work, as ALV transfer to reporting system or cooperation with external systems. So for whom is this price extractor targeted? So for example, pricing condition extractor could be a useful tool for customer service department, planning and analysis department, and marketing and advertisement. And transaction price extractor could be used by customer service, again, planning and analysis department, marketing and advertising department. Also for corporate strategic management, like auditors, financial audits and management, and controlling department. Let's have a look at price analyzer and its two submodules. So pricing conditions manager is designed to massively change the prices of a selected pricing condition for a large volume of data, and most importantly for a range of dates for new prices. It features the ability to collaborate with SAP workflow, as well as the ability to introduce multi-level approval schemes for changes. Working with price analyzer is based on user-generated templates in Excel. And transaction price manager will be useful for changing of pricing condition with real-time transaction price simulation. Can compare transaction prices and pricing conditions before and after change, so the existing pricing conditions in the system and the planned ones. It can create its own simulation scenarios, and the prices can be exported to external systems. Who could use such a tool? For example, pricing conditions manager could be used by planning and analysis department, for SAP sales and distribution department, for auditors and financial controllers. And transaction price manager for planning and analysis, for SAP sales, distribution users, and financial managers. So let's have a detailed look at pricing conditions extractor. So this is a visual representation how transaction prices and pricing conditions are built in SAP. So axis at the top is the timeline, divided into separate quarters. On the slide, we see a simple pricing procedure where we only have 3 pricing conditions: base price and 2 rebate conditions. And in order to simplify as well, the first 2 conditions have 3 access keys, and the third has 2 keys which can store values for these pricing conditions. At the top we have the condition PR00, which is the base price for which a value can be entered using the customer material key. Here. That is the price for a particular material and for a particular customer. And if the price can be found, the system will look for the next access sequence key, which is material in our example. So the first access key is claimed material, and the second one material. And the next level search is material group. So if we set the price for the first quarter of 2016, you have to see by means of which key it is found. In our example, in the first quarter, the price amounts to 5 zlotys, determined on the customer material key, and it expires in the third quarter of 2016 here. And since the beginning of 2017, the price of 550 becomes effective here. And this is found by material group, and this is the most generic price. So first the system searches for this access keys, then this, and the lowest one. In addition, we have a discount for the customer, designated as K00007, which is also defined in our example on 3 access levels. And in real-life scenarios, such pricing conditions usually have at least a dozen accesses. And similarly, in this case, for various periods, the value of the discount will be at different levels in accordance with the graphic representation. Now imagine that pricing procedures are much more complicated. Base price can be specified for 6-7 keys. And in addition, we have several rebate conditions, and each of them has a dozen to as many as 30 access keys. And in this maze, we have to find how transaction price will behave in a given period of time for a given material. In the case of pricing condition extractor, the result will be the values of respective pricing conditions, which in a given period of time may affect the price. So in terms of price extraction module, the results are all these colorful stripes that we can see here. So you would have 9 rows of results, as we have 9 stripes. They're presented in the standard SAP form of ALV list with validity periods of individual conditions and the pricing conditions that have an impact on the price of the material in a given period of time. So this is more or less how pricing conditions work in SAP. Let's have a look at our tool. This is the selection screen of pricing conditions extractor. And the configuration of this module consists of 2 things. The first thing is the configuration data included in a scenario. And any additional selection is made on the selection screen, as we can see on this slide. At the scenario level, we define what pricing conditions are to be calculated, how to calculate transaction price, that is what function is to be performed on the determined pricing conditions values in order to calculate the transaction price. And we can assign the technical characteristics of how we want to format the file that we can later extract from an external system or tool. The extraction to a file is, of course, optional. Additionally, in the selection screen, we indicate as customer or range of customers for which we want to calculate the price, can limit the range of materials for which we want to calculate the price and validity period. So this, for example, from today to a date in the future. We can select past dates too. This period limits the number of conditions that we will be able to see in the AL file grid. And here we have a selection screen, and on the next slide we have the result of such a run. And this presentation format looks like the standard function of SAP ALV. This is a list in which we can work in a dynamic manner. We may choose columns, rearrange their order, sort, filter, use the export into external files. From the ALV grid, by double-clicking, we can go to conditional details. So we can display the value of a particular pricing condition in the standard SAP transactions and proceed to the detailed view of material master, which is typically used in the access keys for pricing conditions. So the most important details can be viewed without leaving the list. This is the example how can they be accessed from ALV result grid. Okay, let's have a look at transaction price extractor. And it works a little differently than the previous one. It first performs what is performed by the pricing condition extractor. That is, in the first stage, it determines in which time intervals for a given customer and given material transaction price can change. So in other words, the tool checks which pricing conditions may affect the transaction price for, again, given material and given customer. That is, what price conditions are relevant according to which access keys for a given material price change can happen. And after determining these time intervals, it analyzes particular pricing conditions at what level each of the conditions will be determined. In our example, it will work in such a way that in the first step, the system determines time intervals. So the system selects all the lines that illustrate pricing conditions records related to a given material for a particular customer, and all the conditions for which the price and any other component, for example a discount, can be retrieved, are taken into consideration in determining intervals where each line begins or ends. So for example here and here. This is the point in time in which the price may change. So in the first stage we set intervals, which are illustrated in the diagram with the orange rectangles down here. In our example we have 6 time intervals. For each time interval there are both checks. What are the values of individual pricing conditions that make up the transaction price? In our case, analyzing the first time interval, the base price was determined at 5 zlotys, and next pricing condition, customer discount, will also be determined through the first access key, customer material, with the value of 5%. In the third condition, material group promotion will also be determined for the first key with the value of 1%. Therefore, in our time frame, we have established the price of 5 zlotys, customer discount 5%, and additional 1% material group discount, which resulted in the transaction price of 470. And the next interval is different because of the fact that the validity of the condition customer discount K007 for the customer material key is no longer valid. So 5% ends here, and then we have the 3% rebate. So the values of the transaction price actually rose to 480 in this period. So going through all the periods, we see how the logic of the entire report works. The report builds periods in order to investigate whether the price will change or not. And then for each of these periods, we'll retrieve a record containing pieces of information about the values of the individual components of the price and the result of what transaction price is determined. This algorithm is not available in any standard functionality of SAP because there is no function determining time intervals in which condition values change. The standard functionality would have to simulate prices day after day, assuming that we want to achieve this by simulating pricing procedure, create a fictional order and enter material numbers, and by changing the date day after day, we'd have to verify whether the next date influenced the transaction price or not. In short, if any of the elements of the transaction price was determined on a different key level, or the value can be found at all for a given date, and whether because of it the transaction price and pricing conditions change in some way. So as a result of our report, we firstly have reports defined from today to some date, the future. And in the table, which will be presented by the report, we have the calculated values. On the basis of this report, we can build a graphical representation of the transaction price diagram, where we have the base price, the price after discount, and the transaction price. You can observe how the relation is being built between the various components of the price and how the various discounts influence the transaction over time. Let's have a look at the transaction price extractor. That's the selection screen. And it's based on the configuration associated with the scenario again, and additional parameters on the selection screen. In a scenario like in the pricing condition extractor, we assign the selected pricing conditions, configure how and for which algorithm transaction price is to be calculated, and if we want to export the results to a file in a particular format, because, for example, the standard format generated by the ALV grid is not sufficient, we can assign other procedures which will generate a file according to our requirements. For example, the data should be prepared for transporting to a receiving system, online store, etc. So in the screen selection, we can also specify the sales area, customer, a range of customers, range of materials, what unit transaction price is to be recalculated. So whether we want the transaction price to be presented in the basic material units, sales units, or some other custom units. So, like in the example, we can have pieces as units, and we want the system to show what will be the price for a pallet, which consists of 5 or 6 or 700 pieces of the material. We can also select the presentation format. So if you want to see the result in the form of ALV list, or export it to a file that can be received by an external system. Again, If we choose the presentation format as an ALV grid, we have all the benefits that this tool gives us. So we can choose the amount of data, which columns are we interested in, the order of columns, the sorting of exporting the table to a file. In the default view, we see such columns as sales area, customer price, validity dates, price, current price, first quarter value and conditions, discounts the next term for the specific material, and one of the last columns, the value of the transaction price. The value is the SAP, as I mentioned earlier, transaction price extractor performs calculations at various stages, just as in the pricing condition extractor. The first stage, it looks for pricing conditions that might affect the price of a material for a given customer in specified time intervals. That is all the colorful stripes. And in the second stage, it determines intervals in which value of a given condition changes. This activity could have an impact on the change in the transaction price. And in the third stage, it performs calculations, illustrated here by the vertical arrows. Which converts the value of individual pricing conditions to the rows with the validity dates of the transaction price. And this, in turn, gives us the values for the relevant combination of the customer and the material for the respective pricing conditions that make up the transaction price, and basing on the assigned algorithm, it calculates the transaction price based on the condition values. The results are placed in the table and presented as an ALV grid. So, the solution for transaction price extractor is built in ABAP plugin technology, allowing you to achieve additional functionality, among others, possibility to expand the report with additional columns, custom filtering, calculation formula, and definable file format. We can also configure file format as seen on this slide. So we can choose how header, position, column order, and positions format should look like by assigning a program name to a scenario, to a procedure. Additional features that our reports include. So calculation of such a report can be archived in a database. The price can be calculated and stored in the database, allowing you to quickly make them available online to external systems. For example, as a web service or RFC technology. Let's go to BCC Pricing for Profit Analyzer, the second module. So this price analyzer has two sub-modules, Pricing Condition Manager, which is useful when it comes to mass price change, when price policy is known, and for periodic price changes. So we have an active pricing policy to our company, and we know more or less, we know how prices will form in the future. So using Pricing Condition Manager, we can plan and change them. And in the second submodules, Transaction Price Manager is very useful when we are not sure how our prices should look like. So we can simulate possible price changes and see how they form in the future and act accordingly. So we can build 3 or 4 simulations and choose the best one. Pricing Condition Manager. let's have a look how it looks like. So the main features of the BCC pricing for profit and price manager are comfortable price management through Excel spreadsheet. So the program generates predefined templates with real data retrieved from the system based on the parameters entered on the selection screen. We have clear verification of price changes. The users always see what they change, when the change is to be made, and for which products, for which indexes. We have full price control based on additional approval levels, approval workflow in accordance to two-man rule. We have also a full and comprehensive price history module for date range specific user additional conditions, for example, change of particular item. If you look at the diagram above, see what data flow looks like in the pricing conditions manager. The first thing that comes to mind is cyclicity. It starts with the export of current prices to external files such as Excel, and a real copy of the actual data, the planned price data is made using Excel. The planned pricing approach allows you to work safely in the system without fear of loss or undesirable changes. Next stage is the verification of the conditions. The user has information about the previous price, the date of its validity, and at this stage a user can introduce a new price, and both a past date and the date of change in the future are visible. Another optional component is the two-man rule approval workflow. This functionality allows you to meet data security requirements and prevent from accidental changes in your business. And once accepted, planned and confirmed prices are transferred to the actual prices. Of course, you have to mention keeping a full history of price changes, starting from the date to the users of each stage, also with pieces of information about the old and new prices. The cycle may end with the export of current prices for subsequent use, and it is worth mentioning that it is a coherent and complete process within a single tool, hence there is no concern about incomplete or inconsistent data. So how does such an exemplary process run look like? So the price change process, as I mentioned in the cycle of data circulation, starts by exporting pricing conditions to an external file, Excel in our example, and in the generated file, users outside of SAP make the appropriate changes. Then file is uploaded into SAP into the so-called planned prices. The planned prices are equivalent to real current prices and are used for mass updates. The planned prices updated with data from the Excel user's prepared file are forwarded to the next step of approval workflow. At this point, depending on whether you would like to use SAP workflow or not, the process branches out. You can have the base method from BCC Pricing for Profit desktop, or recommended by us using SAP workflow. So if we don't use SAP workflow, we must confirm the willingness to change the price by those who have authorization for such an operation by means of internal acceptance tools and forward them to the update stage. Of course, we should mention that at this stage we can also introduce the two-man principle. If, however, we have the opportunity, willingness to use SAP workflow, it's possible to construct and map the acceptance flow in consistence with the needs and security policy of your company. It is important, however, that regardless of which methods we use, the confirmed prices finally reach the stage of pricing conditions update. So at this stage, prices are updated, that is, planned prices are transferred to real prices, with a clear emphasis that only prices previously confirmed will be changed. So the update can be automatically triggered, for example, by the last step of the workflow, either explicitly by clicking a button or as a scheduled batch job, for example. The process log is created from the whole process and a log of price changes ready for preview. And after such a run, a log of price changes is generated and it is ready to be previewed at all times in an accessible manner. How the system looks on the user's side, and I would like to present a full price change, not as an example, but how it really looks like in the system. So the first element is the selection screen. On the selection screen, we choose the input parameters or conditions and the access key. Then we generate an Excel template with the current price conditions values for our four key elements. It's worth mentioning at this stage that this is the so-called zero stage. And this stage can be also used as a tool to quickly generate all the prices of a given condition. So the read stage has not started yet. That is sort of a data preparation. Of course, we can prepare multiple Excel files for different pricing conditions, such as separate file with basic prices, separate with discounts, and transfer to prepare proposals for changes to the responsible person in the company. In the Excel file, we make the appropriate changes to prices and to their validity dates. The first proper step is to create a run, that is translating it into a functional outline, a price change scenario. We have prepared an Excel file with suggested price changes for the scenario. Proposals are saved in the so-called planned prices I mentioned earlier and stored for each run separately. It is also worth mentioning that planned prices will only be created for those items that change in Excel. There is no fear of data redundancy. We can create as many scenarios as we need, and what's more, each scenario can be based on the same pricing condition. Practical example, when you prepare several versions of price changes, pass them one at a time to the person responsible for approval. If you would like to use SAP workflow as an acceptance step, so where workflow initiations, of course fully customizable, takes place. Stage 2. Let me discuss an extended version using SAP workflow. So the BCC pricing for profit offers a wide range of configurable multi-level approval capabilities tailored to your needs and pricing policy. We may base ourselves on one-level approval or multi-level approval, and both of them include the two-man rule. The pricing manager takes full advantage of the SAP workflow tools to notify you about the price changes or acceptance levels. The user receives a notification at their business workplace, the appropriate type, so that he or she is always up to date with the state of the price change scenario or upcoming price changes. The advantage of our solution is to see price acceptance details directly from Workflow Workplace. There's no need to log in into other systems, launch separate transactions, which greatly speeds up and simplifies work. So when you see the details of the price change proposal, the user responsible for the acceptance in a clear and accessible manner, the aforementioned ALV grid, receives information about the price proposals to be confirmed. In addition to the standard information about the data key, it's the pricing condition section, the material date of the current validity, date of the last change, the user accepts immediately available information about the planned date, value of the change. The user who made the proposed changes, that is, the user who prepared the scenario. And from this level, The acceptor can decide whether he wants to confirm or reject the proposal to change prices. Of course, it can accept selectively, for example, only some of the materials. Here we have 5 materials and proposed new value and the color current values. Scenarios rejected, the corresponding information is logged in the system logs and the scenario ends. So if we reject all of them, and if at least one of the prices have been confirmed by the user, the system passes the scenario to the next step. And this next step may be acceptance or update step. The last step in the price change process, if you have accepted at least one of the prices, is a price update. Price update can be defined as one of the last workflow items, or it can be called manually from the BCC pricing for profit price analyzer panel. The wide range of process configurations also allows you to schedule updates as batch jobs. The system will review the accepted scenarios and in time interval. Planned prices can change for pricing conditions. Of course, in case of manual updates or of workload, remember to accept the actual and desired order of change. As with every price analyzer session here, individual price changes are allowed both on the technical and the process side. So if we talk about logs, the BCC pricing for profit price analyzer provides a comprehensive and advanced tool for reporting changes. As mentioned earlier, logs of changes are recorded in technical terms and in process terms. And by running the change reporting function, we choose what kind of logs we want to view and the date range. You can view the logs in terms of specific price change scenarios. In case of process logs, we also get a tool to add our own special conditions, such as the selected user's material, final user, final acceptance user, and so on. So in the case of process logs, the layout corresponds to the acceptance panel. So we have a friendly graphical form available along with the standard AL vgrid function. We can functionally receive information about users changing and accepting prices, reviewing a particular scenario, or looking at how the price of a material changed, for example, over the last year. Here we have the technical log, and then it's based on the standard SAP parallel log functionality. We also have information about the correctness or possible errors of each steps of the process. We can analyze users at every stage of the process. We can preview details. So for example, number of exported and uploaded positions, and number of accepted and rejected positions in a given approval step, and price changes analysis for selected positions. Let's talk about second submodule of price analyzer, and this is transaction price manager. And this is the module we are currently working on, and which will be complementary to the whole BCC pricing for profit family. And features comfortable transaction price management in, again, transparent grid format. It includes lower level terms that affect the transaction price. We can change prices on the price list level. We have a clear verification of price changes, so we can compare the old and the new prices. We have full control over price change and acceptance workflow and two-man rule, and full history of price changes for a selected in data. And this is the process run of transaction price manager. As in the case of pricing manager, Here we also work with the system basing on so-called runs, and it will have its own cyclicality. And the process starts with the preparation of the pricing conditions we want to change, additional information and transparent form. And working with the transaction price manager will take place directly in the SAP environment using the editable, this time, ALV grid. And at the price planning stage, real-time conversion and simulated transaction price will be calculated. Of course, it's worth mentioning that price changes, as in the case of pricing managers, pricing manager module, will be based on planned prices. The common feature of transaction price manager and price analyzer is that we associate the transaction price manager with the approval module, either through approval by BCC pricing for profit panel or via the workflow, which is similar to the previous one. And the process ends again with an update of the relevant pricing conditions. And by analogy with the pricing manager, we will make selections on the base price, additional terms, or price change dates on the selection screen. And this process is also based on scenarios. And the functionality of the module looks like this. On the selection screen, we select the pricing condition. In our case, this is PR00, and the access key, which is material here. And in this test case scenario, we will have 4 products. We limited them. Let's assume we limited them on the selection screen. And after selecting the base price and the access sequence, the system in stage 1 will select all items from the access table. As I said here, this is the table. And in the second step, other pricing conditions such as rebates, in our case, are 100, are on the same access key and will be searched for and presented. Already at this stage, the system will calculate the transaction price in real time. And at this stage, we can make the appropriate changes. For example, price change. You can change price of product 1 here for discount value on product 4. And simulated transaction price will be automatically recalculated in real time after we change any of them. In step 3, the system will check whether the material in other access sequences contains values, and columns will also be presented in the results table. The basic difference will be that the changes will only be possible within the selected access on the selection screen, while all conditions from more general accesses will only be displayed and will not be editable and will affect the price calculation. And so the program will simulate pricing in this way. It will work, therefore, so that the values and conditions of the higher accesses will only be retrieved for those records for which it did not find the value in the initial access selected. Thus, it is not possible to overwrite data, and it is important that the data from the more detailed records would only be informative. We will be able to change only within the selected access keys. So, material customer in our case. Such simulation can be exported to Excel or in other file formats as a standard ALV grid functionality. And upon acceptance of the price simulation and all changed conditions, the system may best pass data for additional verification. We'll transfer the data to the update stage. At the update stage, as with the pricing manager, we'll be able to accept manually using batch jobs or as an element to workflow. However, what is important to emphasize, approval will only accept positions that are related to the access key chosen in the selection screen. Again, it's wrote in the customer. So that's all. When it comes to the BCC pricing for profit, thank you all for attention. And in case of any further info, please use this, the address info@bccgroup.com or call us on this number. Thank you.
Thank you.